Well, hello everyone, and welcome to One Civil Law. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about where we are today, which is super exciting in the Karen Reed spectacular. Very exciting and fun. So, today we had the first defense witness, one of the data daddy has been called by some, the data expert, and he had some exciting and fun thoughts to add to the issue. And that was interesting. And then, of course, we had the cross examination of him by Brennan, which was in many ways even more interesting and disturbing and frustrating. It was, it was really very irritating in a lot of ways. Watching this guy, watching this guy behind me cross examine today. He was condescending, he was infantilicizing, and my desire to punch him in the face was increasing with basically every basically every half hour. He just incredibly want to punch him in the face for being an absolute total dick in his tone and style of cross examinations. Like, Jesus Christ. Also, it was interesting because I don't know if he knew or if he cared, but he was basically self owning as well, because he's like, isn't your report wrong because you relied on the data given to you by Aperture? Isn't it true that your report sucks because the data was mislabeled? And I'm like, I guess, because I relied on the report by Aperture because I was analyzing their data, and when it was labeled infotainment time, I made the I made the conclusion that that was the infotainment time. I didn't know I was supposed to know that that was not infotainment. I didn't, because it was labeled that way, and somehow this is now my fault for this. I don't know how. And I will say this about the expert witness: his patience was legendary, because I was like, I was like, if it were me, I'd be thinking about getting up out of the witness stand and throttling this guy because he's being such an absolute total dick. But fortunately, I guess that didn't happen, and he managed to maintain his cool despite absolute dickery. So that was sort of frustrating on a lot of levels. That condescending, infantilizing, demeaning, patronizing tone, just consistently. I was like, oh my God. It's like, try to treat the man with a little respect or something. It was amazing. And then we had a voir dire, because we like voir dires. Only, of course, the defense witnesses, unless, of course, the prosecution wants it. So the rule is, if the prosecution wants the voir dire, they get the voir dire, because they did get a because the defense, well, there was a voir dire of the prosecution witness. That's only because the prosecution itself wanted the voir dire, right? Relating to the police fact witness, where we did a voir dire of a fact witness in the middle of their testimony, which is weird on every possible level. But I'm requesting the voir dire of my own witness. It's a fact witness. We're in the middle of the testimony, and we're doing a voir dire. I'm like, what the hell is that about? But today we had a voir dire over, I don't know. I don't know if it was one of the, it just it's stupid, about whether or not Proctor's text messages are authenticated through these other people that were part of the text chain, that they've been friends with Proctor for 30 years, and this text chain has been going on. It was unclear how long, but many years, this text chain. And they're like, yes, I'm part of the text chain. This is my phone number. And I know these people because we've been friends since high school. Some of them I went to high school with, but otherwise they went to different high schools, but we've known each other for that long. and they're my friends, and these are their messages, and these are my messages. And somehow that is not sufficient authentication. How? It's like I don't really remember the messages because, why would you necessarily? I mean, there's no particular reason that you'd remember the messages in particular because they're just random communications. But apparently, the fact that you couldn't remember remember the communications is somehow leading to an authenticity problem, which it totally is not. Like authenticity is a reasonably low bar, but not to Judge Bev. She's all about that authenticity life, and I'm like, she's actually going to deny it, isn't she? She's going to deny this witness getting on the stand and saying, yes, these are the text messages, and reading the text messages. She's gonna deny it, isn't she? She's gonna say they're somehow not authentic or they're not admissible, which doesn't make any sense. And or they're hearsay, which also doesn't really make any sense. None of it makes any sense. And so, but she's going to deny it, isn't he? Now, the defense was quoted today as saying they're not going to call Proctor, which okay, I guess that's interesting. But if Judge Bev denies this, which seems like the direction she's going, because that's just the direction of the stupid. If she's like, there's somehow an authenticity problem, and it's okay because you can call Proctor, then what does the defense do? I don't know. But that seems to be the direction we're going because they want to force the defense to call Proctor. And the defense is concerned. I'm not sure how concerned they should be, but then again, I haven't, thought it through in every possible dimension. So, while I understand the issue, I haven't thought it through in every possible, combination. I certainly haven't thought it through with other attorneys who know the file like inside and out in every way and thought about all the possible ramifications, in a very detailed writer's room style discussion, I'm sure. But they're concerned, at least their stated concern, and whether or not that's their real concern, who can say, but their stated concern is that Brennan would be able to, of course, lead in cross examination of Proctor, and that he would just basically run through his closing argument via Proctor, just by leading him, by giving him all the answers, because of course you can do that in the cross, and they think that is detrimental because they think that he'll be able to feed him all the answers. I'm not really convinced that it will really work, but they're concerned that, and they're also potentially concerned that Proctor will somehow come off as the victim or somehow say, that, I've been harassed and woe was me and all the rest of it. So they're concerned about the unknown negatives, which to be fair is a reasonable concern. They're concerned about it. I'm not sure because it feels like the other end of that equation is so rich, but they're not convinced because it's too much of a question mark because it's obviously a witness they don't control. And then the state gets to rehab them by just giving them all the answers forever. I'm sure Brennan will be allowed a robust cross. I'm sure Brennan will be allowed the most robust cross. And Judge Bev will nary say, are you done yet? Judge Bev never says that to the prosecution, are you done yet? Can we wrap this up? They never say that to so she will allow a extremely robust cross with many exciting questions. And, then that is a bit of an unbounded negative. And so the defense is, at least their stated concern is that. And so that's a reasonable concern. I think, on balance, well, I don't know if I can really make that argument because I haven't really thought it necessarily as deeply as they have. But there's just so much potential with, Proctor being dishonorably discharged and, all the creepy shit and everything that I kind of think that it still might be worth it, but they're not sure. And, if they can get the same effect by getting the messages in through someone else, then maybe that's sufficient. For the same reason that they might not call Higgins. If they're not calling Proctor, they're definitely not going to call Higgins. They were able to get everything they would get basically from Higgins through Buchanan. So they don't need to call Higgins. And if they can get everything they sort of need from Proctor through one of these other witnesses, then fair. But it seems like the judge is not going to let that happen. So that's really annoying. Um, and then of course there's always still just for reaching still peak stupid. There's also of course the possibility still that she's going to restrict or prevent Arca from testifying because she said that to Brennan. She's like, well, if you have some concerns, you can still come to me. That Brennan's going to be up there bitching about Arca some more, and she might still yet do something about Arca. And so, like, well, is the defense allowed to put on any case at all? Are they even allowed? He's like, if they can't get it, if they, what are they even allowed to do? And it, the frustration level is very very real right now. The frustration level is extremely real. So yeah, yeah. There's also the possibility that there's things that we are not factoring into this equation. Akasha, you're right. There's also things that they are concerned about that we are not sufficiently considering in the equation. So there might be other negative liabilities that are not apparent to me. But, you know, so maybe, but or there's some other way they're concerned about what is going on. So yeah. Yeah, they're not going to have a case at all. I mean, that's basically what is basically practically happening, right? If it seems like the judge does not want to allow the defense to really have a case, and then what do you do? So if they call Proctor, and all the objections will be sustained, probably. Yeah. Judge Bev won't allow them to ask leading questions on direct. J- What do you mean Proctor's hostile? That's ridiculous. You can't ask cross examinations on direct. You can't ask leading questions on direct. This isn't a hostile witness. Just ask questions normally on direct. So they won't. Yeah, she won't allow leading questions, and then everything will be objected to, and then Brendan will be allowed to run yeah. This is totally fair. This is completely fair. Yeah. Have I seen something like this before? Not really. No. I'm kind of depressed right now. I'm depressed. I thought that I already had a pretty low opinion of Judge Bev, but today with the issues relating to my concerns on authentication, which feels like a real give me issue, feels like a total give me for Karen Reed when when Yannetti was having to actually cite like law in his argument, I I I was actually somehow surprised. I mean, it's like, do I really have to sit here and cite cases? Apparently, the answer to that question is yes. So I wasn't surprised that Yannetti knew them. Of course, I was surprised that this was happening because it feels like such a gimme. It's like, do I really need to bring legal authority into this? Do I really need to do this? Apparently, I do, because the judge is like, well, I'm going to think about it and all the rest of it and stuff. Yeah, Hannah has to hear what Morrissey thinks. Yeah. Yeah. One of my staff members says rumors the state wants to force defense to call Proctor. Defense is calling bluff and hoping to force them to call a rebuttal. The pile of stupid is incredibly real. Do we know who that female witness is? No, I don't really know who that person is. Oh, and it's not tomorrow, it's Monday, because thank God it's Friday. Thank God. But Yeah, I think it's someone who has some information relating to the Sally port, but I don't know anything more than that. So, yeah. Can they do anything about the limitations that are being given? Not really, no. Not really. Not in the immediate, no, they can't really do anything about it. If Karen Reed is convicted, then those are potential grounds of appeal, and that's about it. They can't do anything about it in the interim. Yeah. They're just stuck with the stupid. Yeah. It's denied 100%? Yeah, probably, almost certainly. Wasn't she supposed to make a ruling? Yeah, today. Wasn't there supposed to be a ruling? Is there any word on this? I should have looked it up before I began a stream. I didn't even think about it. Can they file some sort of charges against the judge? No, absolutely not. Their options are to appeal, and I don't have a lot of high hope in that. What about Karen saying she saw John go into the house and also questioning if she hit him? What about it? Could defense call someone from the disciplinary board? No. She said 4:30. She did say that. Yeah. Yeah. She said she have a ruling. Yeah. You're right. Ruling was made on them turning over the content of a phone call. Was that the ruling? I thought it was something else. Yeah. Can I believe how the judge just blew off Yannetti? It's been a long day for the staff. 5-minute overtime. Yeah. All the clips were so out of context. Be that as it may, be that as it may. I mean, the defense has the right to play the clips in full. They have the right to recontextualize them, but be that as it may, it is what it is. Yeah, she won an award recently. Judge Canoni did. Yeah, she just won an award like 3 days ago from the Norfolk County Bar Association as Person of the Year. So someone up there likes her. Yeah, she rolled on the text. Was that the ruling on the Rule 14? She granted that. Yeah, whatever. That is definitely not one of my bigger concerns. So sure, never blows off Hank. You better believe it. Yeah, she never blows off Hank. They need to turn over communications. Okay, yeah, we'll find whatever. Among the many problems, I can't be bothered to care about that right now. Yeah, Karen should have never done the interviews. Yeah, yeah. I think the state laid out those clips in a fairly masterful way to tell a story. I think that they could be viewed as confessions or admissions. I think that they could be viewed. I've already said as much. I'm very concerned. Remain concerned. My concerns are continuing to grow, incidentally, because yes, like I have to like redo the calculation from yesterday because like yesterday I was like, how about 40% to convict, and now I have to refactor it. Now I have to factor in basically the defense is not going to be allowed to really offer a case. Well, if the defense can't offer a case, the probability of that conviction is going up now, isn't it? So that 40%, we're bye, 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 bye. It's going up. It's going up, man. You don't like the clips? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Could Bev get investigated by the FBI? I mean, in principle, I suppose, but I don't really foresee that as a possibility. to be honest. I don't think the feds are gonna come in and save Karen Reed. I don't see that happening really in any context in any way. I don't really see the feds getting involved and somehow saving the day. Yeah, I don't think the feds are gonna come in and save the day. I don't see that happening. The judge is a factor, you better believe it. What's the workaround if she does deem Proctor text messages via the friend admissible? What was strategy if she deems them inadmissible? That is a very good question. I don't know the answers to that question. That is an incredibly good question. If the judge basically effectively says that I can't get in the messages of Proctor except through Proctor, if that's basically the bottom line of this, as the defense, I don't know what I do then. I don't know what I do. I honest to God don't know what I do at that point. Kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't, to be kind of honest. Can her side show the clips? Yes, they can. Her side can show the clips. Rule of completeness. So if the yeah, they can show anything that at least that the government offered. They can show the full version of any clip that the government showed. They can absolutely do that because of rule of completeness. So no problem. Put Karen on the stand? No. Yeah, the jury will see the clips as distractors. Hmm. I don't know about that. Limit the scope of Proctor's questions. That doesn't work in Massachusetts. Massachusetts has unlimited cross in their rules. They don't limit the scope. So yeah, you can't limit the scope. It doesn't work. Yeah, no problem. Could the defense call someone from the hierarchy to read the dismissal? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. If the defense calls Proctor, they're limited in scope. No, they wouldn't be limited in scope. The defense is not limited in scope in their direct of Proctor. They might be forced to ask non-leading questions, but they would not be limited in scope. There might be certain questions that would not be permissible, but if they weren't, they wouldn't be permissible by the government. So the defense is not more limited in scope compared to the prosecution by calling Proctor. There's no problem there. The judge may not allow certain questions to be asked, but it should be the same for both sides. So the defense is not limited in scope by calling Proctor. That's not true. What's the best way to demonstrate a botched investigation without Proctor? Well, to some degree, they've already done that with cross examination, but beyond that, I don't know. Defense would be limited to what Proctor will concede to. Some ways that's true. In some ways that's not true. Of course, you have everything from the first trial, so he's kind of stuck with all that. So that's not fun. Why was the defense hamstringed to what the Commonwealth brought up? I don't recall there being a scope objection to the defense's cross. I don't recall that being an issue. I'm well. Yeah, I don't recall that really being an issue. I don't remember. I don't remember a scope objection. Although they don't often state the basis of objections, to be honest. So who knows? Proctor can take the fifth. If he took the fifth, then you just read his prior testimony into the record because he's a witness unavailable. So if he took the fifth, you can just reread his entire testimony from the prior trial into the record. Are they going to call Colin Albert? I don't think so. If they're not going to call if they're not going to call Brian Albert, if they're not going to call Proctor, I don't think they call Higgins. I don't think they call Albert. I don't think they call Paul. I don't think they call any of those people. That doesn't make sense to me. Brennan's faux indignation 499 with Bev's order, which is not supported by the rules. I expect her to allow the text via a friend as a bone thrown to the defense. Your expectations is higher than mine right about now. I'll tell you what. Brian, Proctor is lead investigator. They'd be able to argue the jury. Why didn't they call Proctor? They cannot make that argument. That is not a permissible argument because they can call Proctor. So they cannot make the argument. Why didn't the state call Proctor? They cannot do that. That's not permissible. If he takes the fifth, can he be crossed? No. If he takes the fifth, then he's unavailable. So he wouldn't testify at all. There's nothing to cross because there'd be no direct. But because he's unavailable, you could read his prior testimony in the record, including the cross examination there too. You'd read his entire testimony in the record as a witness unavailable. It's nuts to prosecute someone without the investigator's testimony. Yeah, 100%. Commonwealth versus state, even they sometimes flip it. So even sometimes they say state. So it's definitely okay for me. They can bring it up in closing. No, it is not a permissible argument. They cannot bring up in closing, why didn't they call Proctor? That is not a permissible argument because they can call Proctor. So they can't, that is not a permissible argument. If Proctor pleads the fifth, will he be required to state that on the stand? No. He would state it outside the jury's presence. And the judge would just simply say the witness is unavailable. And then they read a testimony in the record. You would never say that he took the fifth. You never say the reason why. Was Hank trying to tell Disgorga he shouldn't be relying on his expert's data? A little bit, yeah. He was kind of impeaching his own expert, which is an interesting look. Bev might cite that the defense will have to call Proctor saying that to give the jury the best evidence. That is definitely not how that rule is supposed to work because there's no such thing as best witness. Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely that is also not what the best evidence rule means. So that is not what best evidence means. But yeah, at this point, who knows? Brennan's faux indignation 499 fits her pattern. Style ruling for the Commonwealth, followed by a SOP defense. Maybe. Why aren't they calling Brian Higgins? I don't know if there's enough in it. If they're not going to call Proctor, I don't foresee them calling Higgins. I don't really think that makes sense to me. It just whatever. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. If they're not going to call Proctor, I don't. Proctor seems like the easiest call of the group. So if they're not going to call Proctor, I don't really foresee them calling anyone else like that. Biv misapplied the rules. No shit. Bev misapplied the rules. You don't say. Tell us a different story. After today, I think they don't have anything to lose by calling Proctor. Yeah, I don't. I tend to think that calling Proctor is the better call, but it is where we are. SOP isn't an accurate acronym. Sure, it is. SOP is standard operating procedure. Higgins' text messages were read by someone else. If that's allowed, what would be the difference with reading Proctor's text messages? Good question. That's a very good question. Who knows? The ruling against the evidence, does that make a show in court to execute for biased rulings? Ask for immediate retrial. It would be part of an appeal, but I don't want Karen Reed to try to win this on appeal. Do you? I don't exactly have extremely high confidence that the Court of Appeals is going to go out of their way to save Karen Reed either. So I wouldn't bank on an appeal. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it. Yeah, she keeps using the wrong rules and misapplying precedent. Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah. Her decisions are wrong frequently. They are annoyingly, dishearteningly wrong. You can in Texas in a criminal case. We do it all the time. Really? You're allowed to, in closing argument, be like they didn't call so and so. That's a permissible argument in Texas. I'll take your word for it. That's in most jurisdictions that is not a permissible argument. So, okay, if that's permissible in Texas, that is weird, but noted. Proctor was partially followed for the sending for the text messages in this group chat. Yeah. Do I feel comfortable giving a most likely verdict? Well, I said yesterday a 40% chance to convict. I feel like today those numbers are going up. Those numbers are going up because I'm increasingly concerned the judge is not going to really allow the defense to make a case. I think I'm very my today I'm like 45% to convict because I'm very concerned about the future. Are you the only one who thinks the Karen Reed was frame stance from the first trial was better? It raises problems because it could be perceived as putting the burden of proof on yourself, and I think the softer sell is probably better, all things considered. Who is Proctor worse for, the Commonwealth or the defense? Maybe no one's sure, and lawyers don't like uncertainty, so maybe no one knows. As a prosecutor, I'm disgusted how the Commonwealth has acted in this trial. Facts. Yeah. The prosecutors with ethics, I'm sure, are not happy. The prosecutors with ethics, and there are many, are probably looking at this in disgust. A lot of them are because of the absolute bullshit that's happening. They can't go after Bev mid case because of misconduct and bias. No, no. You'd call Higgins and Proctor probably. Do I think John went into the Albert's house? I don't know, and I don't care. The state has not The state has not proved each and every element of the crime. That's basically where I stop analysis. I don't know whether John went into the house, and I don't fucking care. The state has not proved each and every element of the crime. I'm done. I am done. You have a pattern instruction on it? Excellent. What is the pattern instruction? Can you give me a site? I'll look it up. That'll be interesting. Didn't AJ say they hide Proctor in the opening? If Proctor takes the fifth, can the jury consider that? The jury will never know Proctor took the fifth. They'll never know. Polymarket thinks there's a 22% of guilty. I think Polymarket's underestimating it. I said so as much yesterday. I think they're underestimating the percentages. I could be a little black-pilled, but be that as it may. Do I think second-degree murder would hold? Appeals are for losers, man. I don't want to find out, do you? I was trying to see if Travis William gave me a site in chat. I'll get it for you. Cool. We will. Yeah, I have live apps as enabled. Yeah, I didn't disable them for this stream. Never talk to the cops. Never do any interviews. Yeah. Do I think Proctor's pled the fifth? No. If he had pled the fifth, I think we would know it. There would have been a hearing on that issue. There would have been a hearing on that issue, and there's no hearing on that issue, so no. One of my mods let me know if they give me a site to the model thing in case I miss it. Proctor's probably had a ton of coaching, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think he can plead the fifth. I don't think that's really a possibility. I tend to agree. All you kept thinking today was, what fresh hell is this? Yeah, you and me both, right? Pamela says you're a retired LEO for 27 years, ashamed at how this has been investigated, has been handled. Once proud profession has been turned into a farce. Yeah, retired LEO of 27 years, Pamela. Hey, Pamela. Pam, Pam, got a question for you. In your experience as an LEO for 27 years, how many times did you use red Solo cups as evidence collection vehicles? Was it often? Just curious. Maybe it's practice in other jurisdictions that we don't know about. We can learn so many things. I'm waiting for that discussion. Yeah, I've been an LEO for 30 years. We use the red Solo cups all the time. They're great. I'm waiting for that discussion. Red Solo Cup, I fill you up. Let's have a party. Is that what we're doing? Are we having a party? I'm not sure, man. If this is a party, I don't want to be here anymore. The leaf blower? Yeah. Do you guys use leaf blowers a lot in your law enforcement experience? Do you guys use leaf blowers? And what model of yeah, that's a good question. Is there a dispute? Is there a dispute among law enforcement circles about which kind of leaf blower is best for evidence collection? Are there some rivalries between different departments? You know, we've got Husqvarna. Oh, you've got Husqvarna. We've got, you know, who else makes a leaf blower? John Deere. We've got John Deere. That's we got steel. Your husband's LEO and he's appalled with this case. He rarely comments, but sickened by the cops. Yeah. Yeah. Milwaukee. Ooh, fancy, fancy. Right. Ryo. Ribel. Yeah. You get down to thousand, find $1,000 for a leaf blower. Toro. Ooh, yeah. So many fun options. Which one is 9 out of 10 cops recommend this leaf blower? Yeah, is it kind of like Glock in the same way that 2/3 of law departments use Glock pistols? Is like 30% of them use like Husqvarna? Is there a dominant brand? Are there trade shows? When you guys go to like LEO trade shows and you guys are looking at like body cams and stuff like that, is there a leaf blower booth? I'm missing out on the really good trade shows. That's what's happening. What will I do when they find her guilty? I will be incredibly sad and despondent when they find her guilty. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be very, very sad. I'm gonna be a very, very sad panda. I'm here to hear how pissed everyone in the defense tonight might not be calling Proctor. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. We use natural gas leaf blowers. We don't believe in electric or gas. We use natural gas. Do I really think they'll get a unanimous for guilty? I am concerned. I am concerned. Full burns on the Commonwealth. I'm well aware. I used to manage FFLs. Glock sells LEO their models at significant discount just be known as the best. Fair. We had a program with Glock just for selling to LEOs. I believe it. I believe it. That makes sense. And tell me what the difference between Hank's cross and Leslie's cross? I don't remember enough to be able to opine. I don't remember the details, so I don't remember that one. I'm gonna give that guy another minute to try to find the site because I'm tired. I'm interested in this model rule that he's referring to, or pattern instruction. Why did Brennan tell defense they could try to call Trooper Paul? I don't know, but when they said that, it pissed me off. Maybe the LEOs in chat and the prosecutors in chat, maybe they can offer me some advice. What is the most aggressive thing I can say about my desire to punch the prosecutor in the face at various times? Hypothetically, without it being considered a true threat. That's what I want to know right about now. Because today, with him being a belligerent little bitch to the witness, the rage was within. I was feeling a little rage by him being a belligerent asshole. Purely hypothetically, of course. We do not condone violence. In Minecraft, as the kids would say. Alessi wanted to ask Welcher why he didn't consider the other experts' findings. Oh, yeah. With Paul, you mean? Okay, yeah, that's a good. Okay. Well, one of the difference is that Paul didn't testify, but the other expert did. So that's one difference because he was being asked about another witness who did testify in this trial, and Paul didn't testify. So to the extent that matters, there you go. Is the problem with calling Proctor you can't impeach your own witness? You can. You wouldn't normally want to, but you can impeach your own witness. That's permissible, as far as I'm aware. Have I discussed Proctor not being called? Yeah. The difference is also that it's devastating for the Commonwealth's case, and the Commonwealth didn't want it. So that's the difference. Walsher said in direct he used Paul Data's. I forget the exact details. My mind is a little fried. $5 from Mr. W. I think Karen will be found guilty this time. Case is more streamlined. If she limits defense, how's she able to win? 75% chance? Yeah, could be. Could well be. Oh, Travis gave me the answer. He gave me at least part of the answer. I see 2 out of 2. Where's 1 out of 2? Uh, where's the other half of it? I see 2 out of 2, but not 1 out of 2. Oh, God. I'm in a day. Too tired for this. I can't find the other half of the message. That's exciting and fun. What a waste of my time. There's 2 out of 2. Where's 1 out of 2? Can't find it. I can't find the other half of the message. I can't find the other half of the message. Well, that's ruined my day. My day is already ruined, to be honest. You're helping me look. Appreciate it. Thank you. Why doesn't the defense want to call Proctor? They're concerned about the cross. They're concerned about Brennan just leading him and making him look really good. They're just concerned about that. Yeah, Bev will make the defense call Proctor. Seems like it. Yep. It's a trap, probably. Lynn Britton for $5 has a totally different feel this time. Hank is so far at Bev's robes. Feels like she's being railroaded. That's funny. Thanks for the laugh. Proctor's the last defense witness? No way. Way too much exposure. You would never call Proctor last. If you're going to do it, you do somewhere in the middle. They should be able to handle Brendan and Proctor. They're doing fine with Brendan, but they can't make the judge, do what they want. Yeah, still 2 out of 2. I still don't see 1 out of 2. They has to be careful as to comment why the defendant is not testifying. I still don't see 1 out of 2. I see 2 out of 2, but not 1 out of 2. This is not working. Does anyone else see? Is it just me? Does anyone else see um, Travis Williams 1 out of 2? Because I don't see 1 out of 2. Can someone help me out, please? I'm losing my sanity. Have we seen the video of the parents nodding? Yeah. There's been no 1 out of 2. All right. Well, I asked twice, and twice we have failed, and I'm not staying online for a third time. I can't. I can't. I'm tired. I gave it 2 tries. I gave it 2 tries, and we have failed. So I give up. I give up. Well, thanks anyway. Do I believe Karen Reed can appeal? There's a case. What do you mean? As a matter of law, as a matter of reality? Yeah, I can't. Can you put it on Discord? Can you put it in general in Discord instead of putting it in chat? Can you do that? Because that way it would be in Discord. Can you put it there? Is it appealable in law or practical? I'm so black-pilled. No. All right, I fucking give up. All right. Thanks anyway. I've been on civil law. Cheers. Bye.